Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this pre-Pesach webinar um, that we are doing with Dach Nashim. My name is Sara Blau, and I'm here together with Mrs. Shterna Ginsberg. We're really excited to be here tonight. And since this is a gathering of Jewish women taking precious time together, we'd like to start off with Kairat Tefillah and Tzedakah. So if you have a coin near you, if you're able to put a little bit of tzedakah into the pushka, please go ahead. And I'm also going to start with a kapitel Tehillim. I'm going to be saying kapitel Chaf. You can join quietly as well. Lam Natseach Mizmar LeDavid Yancha Adonai B'Yam Tzara Yisagef Hashem Elei Heyakay Vishlach Ezracha Mikaidesh Tzini Tzedakah Yiskar Kol Mechasecha V'Alascha Yidash Nasela Yitem L'Chach Lavecha V'Chol Atzescha Yimale Nrana B'Shvasecha V'Shem Elei Hinu Nitgal Yimale Adonai Kol Mishal Secha Atidaiti Ki Yashi Adonai Mashiach Yaneu Mishmekatre B'Gvurais Yisha Yiminai Ela V'Recha V'Ela Basusim V'Anachnu B'Shem Adonai Lehinu Nasker Hey Makaru V'Nafalu V'Anachnu Kamnu V'Nasaydad Adonai Yashia Melech Yaninu B'Yam Karenu. So, if you are on here, you are on here because you also want some freedom. And Pesach is the Zman Chirusinu, the time of freedom. So, we're going to be talking a lot about freedom tonight. And I'm really excited to be having this conversation. So, welcome to all of you and welcome to Shterna. Hi.
Hi, it is a very exciting conversation to have, and especially with you. It's always meaningful. And thank you everyone for being here. Let's jump right in. Where
Okay.
we starting
So,
from?
I guess let's get straight to the question. I want to be free this Pesach. What's what is freedom? They say that there was once an American and a Russian arguing which country has more freedom. And the American's like, no, like you don't understand. In America, we actually have freedom of speech. Like I could go right now in front of the White House and I could have an entire demonstration against President Trump. We could all even scream, we hate President Trump. I mean, that's freedom in America. And the Russian is like, so what? In Russia, we too can go in front of the Red Square and make a demonstration, and we could all scream that we hate President Trump. You could do that too.
Yeah,
What is freedom? What does that look like, especially in the context of Pesach? Yidden have been celebrating Pesach and freedom, even in circumstances that don't seem so free externally. If you look at our history, we weren't
yeah,
always free. So what is this freedom that we celebrate? And what is this freedom that, in every generation we should look like we came out of Mitzrayim? I feel like in order to discuss how I can get to freedom and how Chassidus helps us get freedom, like our first question is, can we take a second to define what is freedom?
yeah, yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I also think we all tend to think about freedom as the ability to do whatever we want because, right? Because that's what. And freedom and Pesach almost are a dichotomy. How could I be free if I'm making Pesach? I'm not free. How could I be free if I have a mortgage? How could I be free if I have responsibilities? But doing whatever we want is not freedom. Doing whatever we want is being slaves to our desires, our moods, our habits. So freedom is not just the ability to make choices. True freedom is when we can make choices that are aligned with who we really are and what we really want in our deepest self, our neshama. And typically we feel unable to do that. We want to show up to our lives as the beautiful person that we are, the beautiful people that we are, but we feel limited. We feel limited by our past, by our stories, by other people, by situations, or we feel limited by expectations that we have, that other people have, by standards, also our own or other people's, or by our moods, by our feelings, emotions, and all of this is very real. So freedom is a gift that Hashem gives us every day, but it's up to us to own it and to live it and experience it in a practical way. And in a certain sense, it is an avodah. It's a work. It's a work to get to, because even though Hashem gifted us with freedom, we need to remember and celebrate and re-achieve it. That's not a word, but we need to take it, own it for ourselves every single day, every minute of our lives, because it's so easy to to give away our freedom to our past or to other people or to our moods or expectations or all those things we were talking about before. So So every year before Pesach, the Rebbe wrote a letter to all of us, right? Kol B'nai B'nai Yisrael, wherever you may be, with a message. And many of those letters address what freedom is. I want to just quote one line from one of the letters, which was dated Yud Aleph Nisan Tafshin Chaf Beis, 1962. And that whole letter talks about that true freedom cannot be experienced in a life where the neshama, which is an actual part of Hashem, is surrendered and obedient to the body. And both of them, the body and the neshama, the body and the soul, are surrendered to the material world. The one line I wanted to quote from that letter is, the superior cannot serve the inferior and be content to do so. In other words, the soul, the neshama, cannot serve the body and be happy about it. It has to be the other way around. Our neshama is what needs to be expressed, and our body needs to let the neshama be expressed and show up. So freedom is really about letting our neshama free, not just in a way that isolates our body, because then our body is not with it, but in a way that obviously includes our emotions and our body and our whole human experience, and becoming free of that enslavement to the voice inside our head, our inner pare, that says you cannot because you're only human, and you cannot because that happened to you, or this happened to you, or that person doesn't agree.
Okay, my
So,
animal soul is having a
yes.
reaction. Like I'm hearing you say about how freedom is the neshama, expressing itself and the superior, not listening to the inferior. And I'm just like, wait, 1 second. Explain to my animal soul why freedom is listening to my godly soul. Like my animal soul says listening to animal soul is freedom. I feel like there's me and there's clearly this war between the godly soul and the animal soul. So you're saying neshama is freedom. And my Nefesh Bahamas saying, I think Nefesh Bahamas is freedom. Like, why should the Nefesh Bahamas get on board with accepting a definition of freedom that means it basically has to surrender itself to the neshama?
Because our Nefesh Bahamas wants to be happy. Our Nefesh Bahamas wants to be comfortable. And we can only be happy. I mean, to quote that line that the Rebbe said over there, the Rebbe, the body can only be happy when it's expressing, when the neshama is happy. And the neshama can only be happy when it is being expressed in practical daily life. In other words, the body wants to be happy, and my Nefesh Bahamas, my human self, wants to be happy, maybe even more than it wants to be free. But for it to be happy, we have to be aligned with who we really are. You cannot be you cannot be suppressing your deepest self and be happy. You can't be. So our human self wants to be happy, and maybe there's a part of us that thinks it's going to be happy by having temporary pleasures, just like a little child. I want the candy. I want cotton candy for supper, right? But the mature child, even that, right, knows that it's not going to be happy with just eating candy, because it's going to be nauseous from just eating candy. So even, yeah, there's a part of a child that just wants candy. But then the mature part understands that more than it wants to be comfortable, it wants to be healthy, and it wants to be whole, and it wants to be free. And to be free from, go back to real life, away from the candy muscle. Like, yeah, my body wants temporary pleasures and temporary comfort and just do whatever I want, and that's freedom. But ultimately, that is not freedom. That's being a slave to my moods, to my habits, to whatever I was programmed to be.
Right, but how is that different? In other words, the famous question that is asked, we were slaves in Mitzrayim and we came out to serve Hashem. How is serving my body and my animal soul different than serving Hashem or doing or letting my neshama express itself? Why is this real freedom?
I think because, let's say in a different letter of the Rebbe, which I'm not remembering which one it is, but the Rebbe goes through Daimim, Tzameach, Chaya, Medaber, which are the four different categories of creation, with each one having more animation, right? The Daimim is silent, with the least amount of energy, and then Tzameach has more energy, and an animal has more energy, and then a human has more energy. The Rebbe says, what is going to make a plant happy is different than what's going to make a stone happy. And then an animal is not going to be happy with whatever a plant is going to be happy, right? A plant, in order for a plant to be happy, it just needs, give me some sunshine. Give me, or for certain plants, it just needs shade, right? Give me some water. That's all it takes for a plant to be happy and for a plant to feel fulfilled and free to be its best self, right? But for an animal, that's not enough. An animal needs space. An animal wants to run. An animal wants to be able to move and to interact with fellow animals, right? So it needs more than a plant. And then a person needs to be able to speak, needs to be able to express himself, right? And then a yid. So ultimately, who you are, freedom is going to change based on who you are. So being a yid with an neshama means that your definition of freedom is going to change. It's not enough. You're not just going to, ultimately, you're not just going to be happy to be a pile of laundry, parked on the floor of your bedroom, even though you might want to be a pile of laundry sometimes, but to be a slave, to feel like you cannot be anything but that pile of laundry on your bed or under your bed, right? You're a person. You have a neshama. You want to be free. You want
So
to
do you
go.
mean free doing what Hashem wants, like just Torah mitzvahs? Or like you start talking about practically, what does that look like minute to minute when you're saying freedom is listening to your neshama?
Your neshama is who you are. Our neshama is who we are. It's not limited to Torah mitzvahs. It's not for sure not limited to Torah mitzvahs. It's who we are. It's it's a piece of, it's an actual part of Hashem.
So what does it mean to be aligned with it during the day? Like, what's the outcome of listening to the neshama?
So, from the perspective of, let's say, Torah mitzvahs, if you want to look at it from that angle, it means feeling excited to do mitzvahs, having the emotion, our behavior aligned. But it's so much more. It's so much more. It's when I feel like Hashem is empowering me, when Hashem is true and my neshama is true, then my value is true, my dignity is true, my respectability is true, my love, I'm loved, I'm worthy, I'm respected and respectable, and I could respect others and I could love and be loved. And I'm secure. I don't feel threatened by you. You don't have anything on me. My only power is Hashem. Right? Hashem took us out of being slaves to Pare, where Pare had all the power, and now we have one power, and that's Hashem. And that that's not external. It's not Hashem who's just external from us. Of course, Hashem is not limited to us, but Hashem is also our deepest self, who I am, who you are, who each of us is. We are manifestations, literally, we're manifestations of Hashem's presence here on earth. That is who we are. So yeah, we also have bodies. Our neshama is embodied, but that's only part of who we are, who we really are. In other words, our body is a part. Our neshama is our essence. Our neshama is the true, is who I really am. It's the totality of who we are.
Right. As I'm listening to you, I'm thinking that the truth is that most of the time when we feel not free in our day to day, most of our struggles or our animal soul struggles are not really, you know, they're not really in the realm of Torah mitzvahs as much as maybe interpersonal challenges, personal challenges, the struggles that we talk about emotionally that, you started talking about before, like moods or people or situations. And one of the things that I've realized, and I'm curious what you think also, is that I find that almost people, when they hear freedom from, there's an assumption, and myself included, there's a hope that means I won't have these challenges. Oh, we're gonna come on this webinar tonight, and I'm gonna get the tools to never struggle with any of those things that are bothering me.
Right.
And I think that one of the, I think like maturity light bulbs for me was realizing, and especially as I'm listening to you, is that it doesn't mean the challenges are going away. Freedom doesn't mean the thoughts won't come to me. I won't feel nervous. I won't feel the jealousy coming. I won't feel the fears coming. Freedom, the way you're defining it, means that moment to moment, I'll have the ability to work through it. I'll have the ability to listen to the neshama, to make a choice to express my neshama. Not that the challenge goes away.
Yeah. Yeah, that's almost like saying, like, to be free is not having to swim, like, right? It's not about not having to swim, it's about being good at swimming. So I think pain and challenge is part of the human experience, and it's part of what Hashem wants for each of us to bring out our good, for our good and for our growth. And yeah, so the goal is not to have it easy. The goal is to be good at living, good at making choices, good
Good
at,
at right. It's like I think about it sometimes. It's like people are desperate and searching for the dangling solution of like take it all away. Like give me the peace to not feel any of those challenges. And we're not Torah doesn't necessarily promise us that. I once read a letter to the Rebbe and say, trying to remember the details, something along these lines where the Rebbe said, like, who promised you that like your life would be easy?
yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, but
so
it's a world of Photoshop and you could Amazon anything, you could Photoshop anything, you could edit anything. So it's like I'm standing, I have this line that I say you could either be shooting or you could be living. You can't be doing both at the same time, right? Imagine standing in front of the window and it's raining and you're thinking, "Oh, it's raining. Oh, I don't like the rain. Oh, it wasn't supposed to rain. Oh, I didn't see. Did they say it was going to rain? It's going to rain for a long time." You could stand there for 5 minutes and kvetch and whine about the rain, or you could put on a raincoat and go shopping and go dance in the rain if you want to. In other words, if you're every minute that we spend like shoulding, oh, it's not supposed to be this way. My life is not supposed to be this way. This shouldn't be happening. I shouldn't be feeling it this way. That in that moment where you shouldn't being, where you're shoulding yourself or shouldn'ting yourself, you're not living. You're not living. You're not choosing. Of course, you should be feeling this way. If you wouldn't, if Hashem wouldn't want you to feel this way, you wouldn't feel that way. Of course you should be feel this way. Of course, I'm tripping over my words. Of course you should be feeling this way. Of course you should be exactly where you are. Of course your life, of course that kid should be having a tantrum. Of course that adult should be having a tantrum. That's exactly what they're supposed to be doing right now. And now, where do I want to go? How am I going to be myself? How am I going to how do I want to show up to this moment and in this moment?
and does the neshama automatically know what to do? Like you were saying about living aligned with the neshama. When we put on our neshama hat, so to speak, and put on the Hashem hat, like will that does that guide us to freedom almost?
I would like to think that yes, but to me, it's not about putting on a hat. It's about stepping into the shoes. It's like getting into that space. It's more than a way of thinking, it's a way of being. And
Hmm.
that let's I think that takes us to the next question of okay, so we know what freedom is, right? It's the freedom to be who we really are. That's the freedom we're talking about, not the freedom from feelings or freedom from challenges. That's Hashem's business. Our business is the freedom to be the person we want to be. It's that freedom that Reb Mendel Futterfass described so eloquently when he said when he was in prison and the people around him were talking about their pain over and their loss of their positions in their previous life before they were thrown into prison and they said I lost I used to be an editor with one stroke of my pen. Millions of people woke up to my story, and I used to be the head of a hospital, and my word was so many people's command. And they looked at Reb Mendel and they said, and you're always happy. You always exude a sense of like happiness. Probably you didn't lose anything. And he said, no, I was a servant of Hashem before and I'm a servant of Hashem now. That's freedom. When,
Right. So then I guess that leads into the $1 million
yeah,
question here. So how do I access that freedom? Like, how could Hasidus help me access it? And how do I access something that sometimes feels like a little out of reach, like theoretical, like neshama? Like, how do I transcend myself and my challenges? How do I
yeah.
do that? And how does Hasidus help me do that?
Yeah, so we're so blessed to have Hasidus because Hasidus is the keys that we're sitting on that helps us get out of our own limitations, right? Because Hashem gives us the gift of freedom, but like to quote Rabbi Tzvi Freeman, like we're all prisoners, but we're sitting on the keys, right? So Hashem made us free, but we're sitting on the keys, and Hasidus unlocks those keys. Hasidus gives those keys into our hands. And so the question really is, how can we learn Hasidus in a way that gives us that sense of freedom?
Right. I was just gonna say there's so many people who like say they learn Hasidus, I don't know, and they don't feel or experience the freedom that you're talking about.
Yeah. Maybe Hasidus could also be experienced in two ways. And this is my own thought. This is not the two ways. You know, sometimes you say there are two ways to learn Hasidus. No, there's 100 different ways. But this is just a thought. One way is that we approach it as knowledge, and one way is we approach it as a connection. To me, it's not about the knowledge, it's about connection. I cringe when someone says, "Oh, you're a scholar of Hasidus." I'm like, absolutely not. That's not how I identify. I try to connect deeply with whatever I learn, but I'm not very learned because I don't learn. My goal is never to know. My goal is to be. If we can, you know, in Perek Gimel of Tanya, the Alter Rebbe tells us that there are three ways that our nefesh hasichlis, not a nefesh hasichlis, our the meichin, right? Chachma, bin, and das are the gateway to our neshama. So if we want to activate our neshama, if we want to unleash our neshama and access it and express it and show up with our neshama, you know, shining forth in all its glory, the keys are Chachma, bin, and das. So Chachma, bin, and das, what is that? To me, it's the shortest version that I could think of. It's knowing, feeling, and being. Chachma is knowing, learning a little bit, right? Learning. It's also humility, a willingness to be completely curious and surrendering that this is the truth and letting it replace previous conceptions or misconceptions. And then Bina is thinking about it enough to develop feelings. And then Das is where we integrate it and it becomes our way of being. So a lot of us, I know myself included, like so much of what I learn is on podcasts these days. It's just, I'm listening. First of all, I'm listening on 1.5 or 1.8 speed.
For sure. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Because I just want to get it all in. I'm listening also while I'm doing three other things usually, right? And so that's Chachma Bina Das can mean different things. And maybe from a perspective of like, I'm only using the most external layers of my mind, that's what we're doing. That's not even called learning, I don't think. What are your thoughts?
I'm still listening.
Oh, okay. Right. So I don't even know that that's called learning because it didn't even enter my system. It barely entered my consciousness. When I'm done, I don't even know if I could repeat it. I barely heard it. It was like I'm listening out for a line and I want to feel subconsciously like I'm doing something good. Sometimes it's almost like I need the noise to
Mm.
distract me from my own mind, or I need something to think about. So
Right. Or the
let me
sound
listen.
bite, the 60-second reel
Yeah,
that,
I'm trying
like,
to, yeah, I want that
so
magic
so
line.
if that's not what learning is, what is learning? How do we experience Chachma, Bina, and Das? Like,
So first of all, even let's say, and then Bina is thinking about it, having a conversation, meditating about it, making it personal, asking ourselves questions like, what does that look like in real life? I just learned a sicha, chilek tezayin maybe, about Helach Ma'anya. I'm getting confused because Helach Ma'anya, where the Rebbe talks about how these words that we say at the beginning of Magid are Hashem talking to us. And Hashem is inviting us to the Seder.
oh
And
wow.
Hashem is inviting us. Hashem says, I want you to want, don't worry that you don't think that just because you're so poor in your das, that just because you're ani bedas, you're poor in your das, which and the Shechina is in Gullus. So you might think that there's nothing, but no, come eat, come eat, connect, learn, grow, inspire, open up your heart and inspire yourself, right? And so, and the Sichel goes on to say, like, once you do that, you're going to want even more. And then Hashem will give you more to satiate, because Kol Ditzrich Yeseh V'Yifsach will give you more, and that will take you out of Gullus. It's so beautiful, right? So you can learn that and just like be, the first time I learned it twice. The first time I learned it, I'm like, oh, very nice. Second time I learned it, I was thinking about it a little bit more. And something jumped out at me. It was like, wow, we are really empowered to get ourselves out of Gullus. It hit me very, very strongly because I was thinking about it more. I was talking to my daughter about it. We were bringing about it. We were like, what does it really mean in practical terms? Right. So that's Bina. That's where it becomes a feeling. And then where it becomes Das is where I think, okay, what's my inner resistance to this idea? And I'm willing to let go of the resistance to embrace this truth, right? So, for example, I might think about this concept. Can I really, really get inspired? Um, my inspiration is dead. What does it really mean? Can I really get inspired? There's a part of my brain that says, you're never going to get really inspired about Mashiach. I was very inspired the year of COVID. We're 5 years later, and I was looking back at the contrast, and I feel like my urge, my ability to see that Mashiach is coming this second a little bit faded. I don't know if I want to say this in public, but it's if I bring it. I'm being honest. This is what hit me recently. Like I'm not as like into Mashiach as I was. I don't feel it in my heart. It's not like I'm not like looking out the window. Did Mashiach come yet? I'm not like really, really energized and motivated in the way that I was during COVID or right post COVID. And so there's a part of me that's a little bit cynical about getting inspired for Mashiach. That was what I realized a couple of weeks ago. And then as I was learning the Sikha and the Rebbe says like Hashem is inviting us. Call dichvin yesed. You want? Come. This is the night. I'm opening my door. Come eat. Come inspire your soul. Open up your heart and open up your mind. You will get inspired. And I noticed a part of my deeper self saying, yeah, such a nice message. It's a good thing to say to inspire other people. Are you really gonna it's not really gonna happen for you, right? But if I notice that little voice inside my head and I look at it and say, woman, it really, oh, hello, Yetzirah. Welcome. Actually, not welcome. Thank you for speaking up. I appreciate it. I know you're here to help me. You want to protect me from getting hurt, right? And trying to get inspired. And I'm not really going to get inspired, but no, thank you. Have a nice day somewhere else. So the Das is noticing that the inner resistance and and rejecting it as a lie and committing to the truth with greater strength. And then you,
Interesting though. And what you're saying, I'm listening, is like you're not coming with here's a four-step formula to freedom, here's like how to walk through it and how to be Maisha and Pare. Really, what you're saying is that the answer to freedom is every time we're learning something, every time we're connecting to our neshama, we free our neshama, we give our strength the strength and the ability. In other words, your answer really is learn more. Like they say, if someone has money but they're not wealthy, they need a little bit more money. And if somebody is had some alcohol and they're not drunk, they just need a little bit more alcohol. Like if you're learning Chassidus, if you're learning Torah and you're not feeling the Yiras Shamayim, the connection, the ability for your neshama to overcome your challenges, you just need a little bit more.
yeah. I think it's also not just learning more, but learning differently. Because if learning means watching YouTube videos, right? Imagine if you want to be fit. We talked about this before. Remember?
It's like it's like working out for 20 minutes a month and thinking you're gonna get fit, right?
Right. Or watching that YouTube video about fitness and
And
never doing the
and then
exercise.
expecting to be
You can
even
listen to
better,
a
right?
hundred podcasts, but if you never do the exercises, you're not doing exercise. I don't care
Mm.
how much you know about it, you didn't do it, right? It doesn't help. So it's not just learning more, it's learning differently. And to me, that is really slowing down and single tasking and being present and allowing us to be free. And you know what? As we're talking about this, I'm thinking how I learned in Maimer last year, Ki Meitzeischa Me'eretz Mitzrayim, that every single day we need to go out of Mitzrayim. Every single day we need to become free. And the Rebbe says that the time of the day when we become free is when we say Shema.
Kriyashma, right.
Kriya Shema. Why? Because in Kriya Shema, we affirm and establish Hashem as our one and only power. We remember who we really are. We remember our empowerment. Hashem is Elokeinu, Kaychenu v'chayasenu, right? Our power, our empowerment, and the force of our life. And remember that
That's why they're
Hashem is
actually
our source of
juxtaposed in
power.
the Siddur. We say
Yes.
Shema near Yetzias Mitzrayim because that is the key to our Yetzias Mitzrayim.
Yes, that is exactly. And the minute we're giving power to anything, if I if I am terrified of my anxiety and I feel horrible about my anxiety, that means I'm giving energy and power to my anxiety. That's when I'm a real slave to my anxiety. If I'm terrified of making that phone call, I'm intimidated of that person, and I sit with that and I act on it, I feed that power, I'm a slave to that person or to whatever I believe they have that I don't have, that I think I need.
You remind me of something. I think I heard it from a Shays Taub. He once said something along the lines of like, just because you have depression doesn't mean you need to be depressed that you have depression. In other words,
Yeah,
that it's not you. You might
yeah,
have something you're struggling with, right? Or just because you have anxiety, maybe this is I'm taking it to the next step. Like doesn't mean you have to be anxious about your anxiety. In other words,
right.
kind of almost like accepting the reality of our challenges and putting our effort and our energy into shifting into our neshama rather than into fighting the reality that Hashem gave us.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The minute we give energy and power to something, we are a slave to that thing and we're not free. So the summary I think of this is that freedom is the ability to be our true self, the ability to let our neshama show up in all its glory, in all its beauty, without feeling intimidated, without feeling embarrassed, without feeling any shame. Shamelessly be you, your real you, without excusing yourself, without compromising, without feeling less than, right? And the way that we could achieve that is by letting Hashem be our only power, right? Like we say at the end of Shema, Ani Hashem Alekechem, Asher, I am Hashem who took you out of Mitzrayim to be your God, right? Because that's how we achieve freedom. And then Chassidus gives us Hashem. Learning Chassidus gives us Hashem. It really, really does. So when people say, is Chassidus practical? What are we going to learn? Are we going to learn the practical things of Chassidus, of how Chassidus tells us about how to be happy? To me, the most practical thing of Chassidus is that it makes Hashem a practice. A pra-
A reality.
Hashem is a reality. And if Hashem is a reality, life is completely different. It's a completely different. And like I said, it's not just a mindset, it's a heart set. It's a way of
Mm.
being.
You know, we're here tonight as women to prepare for Pesach, and we're talking about how the answer to our neshama is to really experience learning together. And I'm curious how, as women, we really could do that. Like, how could we be one track minded and not the multitasking? Or how could we dedicate time to really focus on, because anything worthwhile takes effort. And the same way people spend a tremendous amount of effort on their physical health, like you just mentioned, and getting fit, an emotional help. Like in order for us to be spiritually and emotionally in touch with our neshama, it takes effort and takes time and it takes energy. So how do we as women do that?
Yeah. Whoa, so let's talk about some practical takeaways, okay? So the first thing I would love for people to notice when you find yourself saying, I cannot help it, or I couldn't help it. Notice when you see yourself saying, I must, or I had no choice. Just notice when you see yourself saying those things, and then pause, slow down, and edit, because you do have a choice. You are
Mm,
free. You're not limited to anything. There's never something that you must do, barring the exception of chas v'shalom, being under gunfire. I'm not talking about that. But I couldn't help it. I'm only human. Only human is only a lie. That's never you're always human, but you're never only human. You're always also godly.
mm,
And as being godly, you're empowered to choose that and to choose in alignment with who you really are. Sometimes there are hard choices. Sometimes there are choices that really, really are not comfortable. Neither option, no options. We don't see a comfortable way forward, but there's always a neshama way forward. And that's something that we want to look out for. So notice, I call it a slavery moment. Notice when you're feeling sorry for yourself, you're feeling stuck and helpless, and
they
you're
made
saying,
me react that way, right? You
yeah,
made me
it made me
angry.
feel, it
Yeah.
made me feel, right? Yeah, nobody can make us feel what we don't believe. Nobody can make us do what we don't choose to do. Without our permission, nobody could even control us. So let's just slow down and notice. And if this feels like, what do you, I hope I don't want anyone to take this as now you're gonna now not only do you feel weak and like you feel like you have no choice, now you feel embarrassed of it because we said because tonight we talked about not feeling that way. It's a process to get there, but at least just notice that that's not, let's set the bar high. We want to be free. We could be free, and there's a way to be free. And you could be free no matter where you're up to in your personal journey. Make this your goal. And the way to get there is really through making Hashem real. I don't know of a different way other than davening and learning Chassidus. And learning Chassidus helps you daven in a way that's not just about getting Hashem to hear you, but about getting your body to hear Hashem, getting your consciousness to hear
I
Hashem.
love how you just said that. It's actually interesting. You're talking about davening because I had a very hard time davening for a very long time. It was like couldn't focus and saying the same thing again and again. And a few years ago, I started learning and writing about davening, and it completely changed me. And you were just saying about getting your body to listen to Hashem. It's like the Alter Rebbe describes how it's literally your animal soul gets to eavesdrop on your godly soul. Like the whole point of davening actually is not treating Hashem as an ATM machine. It's getting my nefesh habahamis on board with Hashem and His greatness. And the interesting thing is, I felt like by learning Chassidus, my nefesh habahamis was actually getting on board with me, getting it on board. Like,
Yes.
it was getting on board with like the fact, the goal of davening. It's a totally different davening. It's like almost like the whole point of Chassidus is right. The Alter Rebbe describes how it's b'chal levavcha. When we get to Shema, levavcha has two vases because we're getting ourselves to a place where we love Hashem with our neshama and our guf, with our nefesh lekis and our nefesh bahamis. It's not just about pushing away the nefesh bahamis and listening to the neshama, but it's about getting the animal soul to want to also do what the neshama wants. We're working with it. We're making them friends and partners, and that's the goal. Because if it was just about the neshama, the Alter Rebbe says the neshama would stay in heaven.
Yeah.
Why did neshama come down? The neshama come down because through this process of learning chassidus, of davening, the whole point is we're actually getting our nefesh bahamis to enjoy what the neshama enjoys, to take pleasure in ruchnias, to want to do, to actually appreciate and to in other words, I think what I'm saying is that over as much as I said in the beginning, like we're not going to get rid of our struggles. It's just living, moment to moment with our neshama. Over time, it's not just a skafia where I'm not giving into my animal soul, but there's a real ishapcha, there's a real turnover. My animal soul turns over and starts appreciating the freedom. It's like, I like this. Give me more. Give me
Yes.
more of this not being, afraid of people or being afraid of bullying, of getting bullied or not free me from myself, actually. Like, free me from my own chains of my own animal soul. And if I was like, this
Yeah.
is great. I'm free. The noise in my head is not bothering me anymore because you know what I'm thinking about? I'm thinking about Hashem and His greatness and how I could contribute to the world and not like, my inferiority complex.
Yeah. Exactly. I'm itching to tell that elephant story. I'm gonna say it. I'm like
Go
holding
for
back
it.
because I see on the Zoom a lot of familiar faces. Thank you for being here, friends. And all of you heard this story, but I also see some new faces. So I hope it's okay to share this story about this man who was traveling in India and he saw this elephant tied with a rope to a tree. And it was a very strange sight because an elephant cannot be restrained with a rope. It needs something much stronger. So we asked the elephant trainer about it, like, what's going on here? Like, what's this rope doing here? And what's the story? And the trainer said that when this elephant was a baby, they used this kind of rope, a very simple rope, to restrain her. And at that point in the elephant's life, she was indeed too weak to break free. And she pushed and she pulled and she stretched and exerted as much energy as she could, and she could not break free. And eventually she decided to just stop trying because the only thing she was accomplishing was hurting herself as the rope was cutting into her neck and causing her to, get bruised and bleeding. So she just stopped trying. And then the trainer said everything about the elephant started to change as she grew. She grew bigger and bigger. And today she's a ferocious beast. With one swish of her tail, she could just knock down the whole tree. She could go anywhere, literally anywhere. But one thing about the elephant never changed. She never stopped believing that this rope could hold her back. So when she sees this rope, you know, you, she doesn't go anywhere. She just stays stuck. Whenever I tell the story, I ask people like, did the rope hold the elephant back? Did it?
In her mind.
Yeah, the rope didn't hold her back. It was her belief about the rope that held her back. So for me, learning Hasidus gives me that awareness that, oh, it's a rope. Oh, it can't hold me back. Oh, I'm really strong. I'm bigger than this rope. The rope is nothing because the elephant will always be attached to that rope and there's nothing that can help her. And for all of us, we all have elephant ropes. We all come into adulthood with lies that we believe, ideas that limit us to our past, to our habits, to our moods, to our emotional wounds, really. And we could just keep going and doing the same thing with the same limitations, tripping over ourselves and really not being the person we could really be and having the beautiful life we could have and experience the love and connection that is our birthright. And really, they're elephant ropes. They're not true. It's only our belief about them, but we believe them. I know for myself, when I was, before I did all this work of learning Hasidus and really coming to discover a deeper truth, a different truth, putting on a different pair of glasses to see myself in the world, I didn't think, oh, my Yetzer Hara is telling me to, putting me, making me feel bad about myself. It was me feeling bad about myself. Don't tell me it's my Yetzer Hara, it's me, right? But when you learn Hasidus, it's like turning on the light. And in the light, I could see, oh, it's just an elephant rope. It's just a shadow. It's not true. It doesn't have any power over me because I am godly. So that's really the gift that we give ourselves both through davening. Davening, I always think of davening, the climax of davening is like it's Shema. And in Shema, we're telling it, we're turning to ourselves and we're saying, listen, sweetie pie, listen, listen, listen. Take it in, absorb it. You're a Yisrael. And because you're a Yisrael, Hashem, infinite, Abishter is Kaychenu v'chayasenu. He's your life force. So go live your life. Go, be, do, take that step forward. Be courageous. Act on your deepest truth. Don't be afraid. You know, it gives us permission and the empowerment to really let go of our attachment to the lies that we believed for so long. And that's the gift of Hasidus, really, and the gift of
Wow.
davening.
Wow. Honestly, as you're speaking, I feel like I'm getting this charge, this spiritual charge, and I so appreciate it. Thank you so much. It's really amazing, and the truth is, we're here to introduce to everybody this amazing new opportunity, which
Yeah,
is, some people ask me, what's Dach Lanashim? So we're
yeah,
going to hear a little bit more about what does it mean, Dach Lanashim. But in short, Dach Lanashim is Chassidus for women, which is really what we need. We need more opportunities like this, where we just all got together. It's Erev Pesach. There's 3 million things to do, but I need that. My neshama needs it. My body needs it. I need it like a thirsty person. I need to connect because this is what's going to give me the ability to live the rest of my week. This is what's going to give me the ability to hold on to any relationship, to keep me centered and in touch with my neshama. So we really do want to talk a little bit. I'm really excited to join Dach Lanashim. I was really excited when it came out. I'm like, yes, an opportunity to hear good shiurim, like the good old days in seminary. I want to buy a notebook and a pen and get a chavrusa because, we get too busy and we think like, I don't have time for this in my life. But the truth is, we don't have time not to feed ourselves. We don't have time not to empower ourselves
yeah.
to put our day in motion and put our Chachma Bina Das on track. So I'm really excited about this. And I'm actually excited that you're going to be for bringing for Dach Lanashim also.
Yeah, it's a very, 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 I'm very excited about it. The reason why I'm excited about it, first of all, dach, people said, what's dach? Like a roof? Dach?
Oh, no.
So, so Dach, Dalid Aleph Ches stands for Divrei
It really
Elikim
Kim
Chaim,
Chaim.
which is an acronym for what the teaching of Chassidus is. Divrei Elikim Chaim, like really the teachings of the living God, which is what Chassidus is. So Dach Lanashim is serious, intensive, systematic learning. The reason why I love what I'm excited about is that I'm that kind of learner who like wants the bottom line. That's like my instinctive way of learning. Tell me the bottom line. Give it to me at 1.8 speed. Around my Shabbos table, sometimes my kids will say, "Ma, 1.5, please," when I start to talk. Like it's like part of our culture, like we just want the bottom line. We don't have time to
Or the
hear
cliff
all the
notes,
things.
the summary. Yeah, just tell me
Yeah.
about a regular
And
class.
and the truth is, and then even if we learn a sikha or we learn an idea and we take the time to learn it properly, it's still not really getting into it. What I love about this program is they're going to be offering us like for for 9 whole weeks, 9 entire weeks, or maybe it's 10 weeks, 9 weeks. That's a long time. 9 weeks of being on one topic. Within those 9 weeks, I think we're going to hear, I'm going to ask Shani to come on and explain more in detail, but I want to share what I'm loving about it is that for 9 weeks, you're immersing yourself in one topic. You're learning about one topic. We're going to be exploring one big topic, coming at it from different angles, right? Learning different sources on that one topic, but it's immersing our minds in one topic, so we're really getting very, very deep. We're connecting. There's going to be a WhatsApp chat throughout, so we're going to talk about it. It's going to be like that 24/7 tea room that you can that's always the conversation in the back of your mind. That's going to be my background music for this time, which is really, really exciting. It doesn't have to, it's so that is also meaningful. And somebody said, oh, so what is that topic? You know, to me, it doesn't matter what the topic is because I'm not in this to get a list of practical strategies for parenting or for marriage or for how to be a better a housekeeper or whatever. It's not about the practical. I'm looking at this as a way of building me, as a way of strengthening you, building you, developing us. So like real, like neshama, feeding our soul.
But you
So
know what else? It's not
yeah,
just feeding our soul like recipients, like passive recipients. I think it's
active.
important for us to be able to see it inside.
Yeah,
Take it, like I feel like a lot of times today I'm hearing things shlishi, like third hand, someone who heard it from someone who read it in the English. And then I take out a book, I take out the original Sefer, and I'm like, what is that? Like the interpretation went three levels and it got so diluted that it might not even be accurate to the original. Like let's
right.
go back to the original,
What did the
right?
Rebbe actually say?
What is the Rebbe saying and how will that help us in our Avos Hashem, in our Yiras Hashem, in our being in a Karas bias, in our role? Like we're not taking anyone else's word for it. We might listen to a class, we might for bring about it together, but I feel like it's so important, like to go to the primary source and you know, I'd say it's
Absolutely.
machkimais, but like really, like see what the Rebbe says inside, see what
Yeah.
the mimer says. Like
Yeah.
get excited about a mimer, get your animal soul to get excited about a mimer.
Right. Right. And of course, it's when I was saying it's not about the topic, of course, we're coming out with knowledge and we're coming out with ideas and but it's so much deeper than that because it's just no matter what you learn in Hasidus, the reason why it's called Dach, Divrei Elokim Chaim, because no matter what the topic is, when you learn it properly, it's about Hashem and it's about strengthening our awareness of Hashem. And the more true Hashem is for me and for you, the more true Hashem is for us, the more true our happiness is, the more true our security is, our dignity, our ability to live life, and to the point of today's topic, the more true Hashem is, the more free we are. So I'm very excited about it. Is Shani on?
She's on. I see her. Do you want to
Okay,
pin
so
her?
Shani Paltiel is the director of Dach Lanashim, and we are so excited. I'm looking for you, Shani. We're, we're so excited to have Shani here tonight to tell us the details about it. If anybody wants to speak to Shani, we're going to post her question. Um, I don't see her.
She's a red chaitel. That's a clue.
I don't know why I'm not
Johnny
seeing her.
Paltiel. You don't, is there a way to search it so you can search her and pin
Shani,
her?
in the meantime, unmute yourself, please.
I could pin her actually.
Thank you.
Do you see Shawnee now?
I don't see her, but Shani, unmute yourself and
Okay, there. Yeah,
yay,
sorry, I
good,
needed to be unmuted.
good. We hear
Okay,
you.
hi everyone. I'm Shani Paltiel. I am the program coordinator for Daf Lanashim. I'm excited to share with you the details of how this program works and what you can expect when you join. So this is what happens when you sign up. You will be sent an email to schedule a meeting with myself. When we meet, we will discuss all the different parts of the program, and I'll walk you through all the details so you understand everything. Now let's speak about the curriculum. So Daf Lanashim is designed as a structured yet flexible learning experience. Each full cycle lasts about 10 weeks, centered around a specific topic. That topic is broken down into subtopics, each lasting about 2 weeks of learning, followed by a week of chazara. All members will have a curriculum book shipped to their home, as well as a PDF online. And in the book, for every subtopic, you will see the main learning material. This includes the core content with translation and summaries. Additional learning, if you have extra time or you want to go deeper, there's optional material available. It's like extra credit. It's totally up to you, no pressure for that. There are short definitions on key terms within the mimer that are explained to enhance the clarity of what you are learning. And every mimer will also come along with short summaries and flows along the ways. There are added footnotes for clarity. So that's the curriculum. The main learning material is designed to take roughly 1 hour a week to get through. Then there's the pre-recorded materials. So the map. At the start of each subtopic, you'll receive a 5 to 7 minute voice note called the map. This is an introduction to guide you in your learning by providing a basic explanation of the topic, summarizing the mimer, as well as extra credit one, and helping you personalize your learning. So highlighting what's essential and what could be skipped based on your time and your style. The map is basically giving you the ability to create your own personalized structure based on your time and your style of learning within this framework that we're creating for you. Then there's a class going through the mimer inside. It's given by my husband, Levi Paltiel. This is a pre-recorded text-based class, the only pre-recorded and text-based class that reads and translates the mimer. It's fast-paced, totally optional. It's there if you feel like you need it. It's perfect if you need help understanding the mimer inside, want a chavras alternative or a quick chazara. And then there are live classes. So each week there are 2 half-hour live classes that are recorded if you miss them. All classes are outside the text, which gives you the ability to be flexible. The first class of the week is zooming in on a specific topic related to the mimer and spending a half hour giving you the full picture of that concept. That class will be given by Rabbi Yossi Klein. Then there is a second class, which focuses on the flow, the meaning of the mimer itself, explaining key parts, making it clear, basically teaching you the mimer, just outside the text. Then there is the third week of the cycle, which is Chazara week. So instead of regular classes, Chazara week is dedicated to review and application. The first week of that class is given by, the first class of that week is given by Rabbi Yitzchak Kaufman from Mayanot. He brings the mimer into real life, showing you how its teachings are deeply relevant to you, part of your personality, part of who you are. The second class will be given by our very own Mrs. Shterna Ginsberg. That will be a Farbrengen style class that connects to the topic, that connects the topic to personal avodah and inspiration and growth, and basically for bringing about that idea. In addition, in the final week, so the 10th week of the whole topic, to wrap up the entire topic, we'll have a guest Farbrengener who will bring fresh insights and new energy to the learning. Then there is the WhatsApp chat and community aspect. There's a dynamic WhatsApp chat. It's an open platform for you all to discuss, ask questions, connect over the material being learned. There will be many other women teachers on the chat to discuss things with as well. There also will be the opportunity to have some of your questions forwarded to Mashpiyim for responses, and their responses will be sent onto the chat for further discussion. It's a dynamic chat, and it really creates a community with the members of the program. And then there are extra small features here and there that really enhance the community aspect of our program and enhances the program itself, like a Good Shabbos Friday message, monthly Farbrengens on Zoom, when possible, get-togethers, and many other things like that. There also is the idea of a community where you can join with 5 or more people from a specific place or a group, and all members would be able to join at a flat rate of $50 a month. A community could be a city, it could be a group of friends, it could be a seminary, a class, whatever you connect with. And lastly, we want that all women will be able to benefit from Chassidus, and therefore we do offer scholarships on a case-by-case basis. So feel free to reach out regarding this if necessary, along with other discounts that we do offer. So yeah, all in all, this program is designed to fit into your life, your busy life, while giving you deep, structured, and meaningful Chassidus learning. I'm really looking forward to hearing from you all. For more details or to join or for questions, feel free to message me. I'll put my number in the chat box, but I'll say it here too, 248-307-6900, or you can see it on our website, dachlanashim.com. And yeah, looking forward.
How can you spell
The
dachlanashim.com?
link
Yeah,
is on the chat right now. If you go to the chat,
amazing.
the link is posted, Dachlanashim. Shani will post her phone number. Thank you so, so much, Shani. It's
Thank you,
really
Shani.
exciting and amazing that this is done for us, for women, with amazing, amazing teaching and learning. So thanks for all your hard work. And I just want to end off wishing all of us on here that freedom that we so crave, that ability to connect her neshama that Shterna spoke about so beautifully, the ability to believe that we can because we have this unstoppable and infinite connection to Hashem. And I wish all of us a Pesach of true freedom, freedom in our relationships, freedom in our homes, with our families, with our children, freedom to really be ourselves, and a real kosher and freilich and Pesach that we can come to the Seder and feel that we are truly free, regardless of any circumstance that we find ourselves in. And may Hashem help that not only we should have these geula pratis, these internal freedoms, but that ultimately as a nation, we should experience a geula klali, that we should all have the ultimate freedom of the ultimate revealed geula now. So
Thank you.
brachos to everybody.
That was a beautiful ending. And also, I just want to add one more practical takeaway. For those of you who feel like Dachlan Nashim is, first of all, everyone should join Dachlan Nashim, for sure. And if you're not ready to commit, at least do some sort of learning. I'm thinking about what I said, and I'm kind of like minimizing the value of listening to podcasts, and there's so many beautiful, and podcast has become a buzzword almost, and it mixes actual learning with just sharing ideas. And there's so many beautiful ways to learn online. And I want to encourage you to everyone, there's so many beautiful ways. Go onto Chabad.org, go onto Rabbi Sheistaub's Soul Words, Rabbi Y.Y. Jacobson, the yeshiva.net, energizedliving.org. I have a weekly Tanya share on Wednesday mornings. And to get more in depth, if you want to take your learning to the next level, join Dachlan Nashim. But don't be overwhelmed. Don't be intimidated by, like, if you never learned anything and learning is not at all part of your life, that is a really good framework because you'll have the support. You'll be part of a WhatsApp group. You'll be part of a community where everyone's doing the same thing at the same time. So that really, really gives you the support. But whatever you do, keep learning, because that's how we could really set ourselves free. And may Hashem give us the ultimate cheros, freedom from all external challenges. We do our part. We do what's right. Hashem does what's left. Hashem should take us all out of galus. We should experience real cheros with Mashiach now, this year, even before Pesach. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Sara. This was so
Amen.
special. Thank you, Sarah. Blau, I can't wait for your book
You
on
can call me
tefillah.
Sara.
I heard you're writing a book on davening. I can't wait to read it. I'm so excited. Thank you,
Yes.
Shani, for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Of course.
everyone, for being here on Erev Pesach. An amazing
Yeah.
turnout on Erev Pesach.
Yes, thank
Gute
you.
Nacht.